Jim Johansson. I wanted to give a brief introduction to the Arduino UNO and how that relates to the things that we're going to be trying to accomplish in our course. So I'm hoping that you'll find that what we have here will be illustrative and as you're contemplating projects and stuff like that. So the goal is we want to have people get familiar with what it is actually like to program hardware. Um, and so this is going to be a combination of doing some software coding, engaging with a device, some hardware, and customizing some elements that as you're going through this, hopefully it'll become more familiar to you. And some of you, I think you might actually really enjoy it. And so I'm going to highlight two projects. The first is an RGB LED demonstration. That'll be the main focus. I have a separate video that will show that operational. And then there's another one that I still have connected to my laptop, and you'll get a chance to see what that is like. So here's just an overview of the type of things that you will find in a typical Arduino kit. This is one that I propose would be good for people to use for this course. Of course, there's the Arduino. There's a variety of things that are called resistors. If you've never heard of that, it may seem a little bit mysterious. One way to think about this is just thinking about water in the home, that you have you can turn on the water, you can change how much water is coming out by the valve. And this is an example of how you can change how much flow. It's not water, it's electricity that you're changing. And these are fixed levels, so you would be defining the flow based on how much resistance that you have. There's an interesting little chart here that there's little color codes on these resistors that help you to determine how much resistance that each one has. And you'll see a picture of how that looks with the project. The RGB project and another one. There's light emitting diodes in various colors. That's also in the kit. There's a 9-segment display where you can display 0 to 9. A buzzer. There's a shift register chip, a heat sensor, a motion sensor, a photo sensitive diode that can tell how much light is there. And there's an RGB LED, which we'll show briefly here. There's some switches that you can turn things on and off. There's connecting wires. This is what you'll probably be using most. And then there's some other connections. This USB cord is what you hook between your Arduino unit and your computer. This is a wireless, quote, soldering board. It's a connecting board where if you can see my mouse, I'm going horizontally. All of these holes here are connected with a wire in the back. So you can be hooking multiple devices without having to pull out a soldering iron and create different types of circuits. And on the edge, all of these up and down from one end to the other are all connected. So that's the first row, those are all connected. And then in the second row, all of these are connected. And the same on the other side. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of how that works. In terms of the components in the Arduino kit, this is something that you will have in there. It's a little piece of paper with your kit. You have the controller board, the cable, the breadboard, the jumper cables, and all these other devices that I began to talk to you about. This is the shift register, the buzzer, the tilt switch, the photo resistor, a variety of different LEDs, the 1-digit 7-segment displays that you can display 0 to 9, the RGB, red, green, blue LED all together. The buttons, the various resistors, and there's the packing and then this resistance card to help you determine what the resistance is. But since these are a little bit larger pictures, it can help you get familiar with what they represent. Colors mean certain amount of resistance, and there's a couple different digits that are shown there. So that's just a quick overview for the contents. The real heart of what we're doing is we're going to be programming an Arduino, and the base that I'm proposing is the Arduino UNO for this class. The real heart of this device is a microcontroller. If you look at the totality of this device, maybe an analogy would be thinking of this like a Swiss Army knife, that it does a lot of different things. It's very flexible, and so that's how what you will experience in the class, different projects that you might consider, that there are not as hard as it would be if you had to start from scratch. So we will talk more about the guts of what this is, but maybe giving you example of showing it actually working might help to make it easier to figure out. So this is twice the size of the Arduino UNO kit that I was proposing people get. One can get a more complicated one if they would like. That's not a problem. Once again, these are all hooked together here, vertical, and down here horizontal. All of these on this first row are connected, and then all the ones on the second row are connected. There is literature in the CD for all of these different devices, and I won't go through this in as much detail, but there's the buzzer if you wanted to have something be sending out whatever it might be, Morse code, some type of information. That's one of the things that you could do. You could be turning on and turning off LEDs based on certain logic that you're trying to show. And I will show an example of that with a photoresistor after I just finish talking about this RGB project. Here is the spec sheet on the RGB LED, and I just was capturing a little bit of information here. You'll see more details. This is a photoconductive photoresistor, and I have a different video that will talk more about that. A shift register is an interesting device where you can be collecting 8 bits of information, and it's basically if you have another bit of information come in, the bit at the other end goes away. So it's like a memory device that can be clocked, and those things are shifted each time you get a clock. And we can talk more about that later. You can have a switch so you can turn things on or off. That may be something that would be quite useful. A tilt, if you change the angle and orientation, you're going to be able to sense that. And so that's what that device does. I mentioned briefly the resistors, and so you have a little bit of an idea of what's there. So let me talk about this RGB design. If you look in the CD, you would find this information. So the first way it shows you this is as a schematic. And so this is a black box of what the Arduino looks like, and it shows you where you're actually hooking it in. This is the RGB LED. It actually has 3 LEDs in one package. And then you have resistors that are included. This is important that you might have heard of the term of having a short circuit. It means that a lot of current passes through. There's not a lot of resistance that occurs in the LEDs, so this is important so that you don't damage your Arduino unit. And so this is the schematic version of what we have for a design. And here's what it looks like when you actually put that together with the Arduino. And This hopefully you're seeing is not too complex. You have the RGB LED and you have 3 resistors and a few simple connections to the Arduino, and the rest is coding. And so that's the hardware. You then have the Arduino IDE where you actually do your code. This is an example of one of the designs, the scripts that are actually loaded into um, the CD, so it's not too hard to get access. And here is just a quick look of all of that code, line by line, that you can get from the Arduino website, from the CD that would come with your project, etc. I also created a video that's separate than this, that you can, if you want, you can get an idea of. It's actually connected to a computer through the USB port. This is the Arduino. You have the board where you have the electronics, and this is displaying the script where the Arduino application is located on my computer. So that's just a quick tour of that, and I'll minimize that. And I just wanted to show you one other thing in case you might like to see something actually working as we speak. I'm going to shift my monitor down a little bit so you can see the actual hardware. I have another video that focuses on this in particular. But what this is, it's showing a photo resistor, and I mentioned that briefly. There's an LED that's hooked in, and you have this another thing that is available through the Arduino application, that you can have a sample a serial port and get a real-time look of how that's working. And so this is connected directly to the photo sensor. The LED is also, it has a connection, and so if I vary the light that the device is seeing, you'll see that there's a change in both the display as well as the intensity of the LED. It's a little bit hard to see because the LED is fairly bright with what you're seeing with my webcam, but if I use my hand, you can see how it does definitely change the amount of light, and you can see how the LED will go dimmer and brighter. So that's a quick little tour. I just wanted to give you some information on the Arduino kit. Have a wonderful day. Take care.